Oh my god, it's time! Hell yeah, it's time to rewatch an episode of Doctor Who so it can propel itself into its own toilet. An episode so dumb, it has a monster made of baby boogers. An episode so violently bad, it made me question if I was being too hard on Chris Chibnall. It's...
Space babies! 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 Space baby! Space babies! Space babies! Space babies! Space babies! Space babies!
When I saw this episode, I was so happy there was another episode released with it that I forgave how stupid the casting was for the Beatles. I have not revisited Space Babies since. As I speak this recording, I have not rewatched it, and I have not made notes for the script. I say this because there are some people that say that Space Babies isn't as bad as you remember. Space Babies has merit. Space Baby was, dare I say it, fun. Bitches, that's not how I remember it. I remember this ball of puke to be a massive waste of time. I remember it to patronize the audience with nonsensical bullshit that was neither fun nor funny, and it was better left forgotten. I remember thinking, oh shit, there's only 8 episodes left in the season and this fart bubble was one of them? So no, I'm not coming at this from a place of loving memory or even unbiased commentary. I hated this episode, and my memory has it near the pantheon of shit that is Fear Her and Sleep No More. Don't worry, Pating, you're safe. So let's dive headfirst into this suckfest and see if I hit my head somewhere along the way and my memory is wrong. We'll also catch up on our 3 season arcs and look back on what we knew then and what we know now, not knowing what we'll know tomorrow. Things that I liked.
And the planet that took me in, they were kind of posh. They used titles like the Doctor or the Bishop or the Rani. Oh my God,
I have said it before, I don't understand this obsession with the Rani. If she wasn't a Time Lord, and she wasn't the throwaway reason for Colin Baker's regeneration, I doubt we would care that much about her. Sorry, some of us wouldn't care that much about her. Enjoy it now. Once they sort out the rights issues, the Rani is going to be shoved down our throats so far that it's going to be coming out of our buttholes. But I will say, you start naming Time Lords or titles of Time Lords and my little Doctor Who pants starts to flutter. The Bishop, the Conquistador.
The question is, why did I run?
You know, I liked the Doctor immediately questioning why he was scared, why he ran. I appreciate that they recognize this is a fundamental difference to the Doctor's character for them to be immediately scared of a threat rather than to be curious about it. I like the concept of a baby farm. Now, if you clicked this video to see if I would comment on what RTD is trying to say here about abortion or in vitro fertilization or whatever, I'm not really smart enough to go there with you. But the sci-fi implications are pretty horrific, especially this idea of manufactured babies being abandoned to die.
I don't like you. I don't like you at all.
Anyone find it weird this Doctor is so free with their history? I mean, here he is talking about 1963, the TARDIS chameleon circuit, Time Lords, Gallifrey, Susan? I mean, dude, Ruby just stepped into the TARDIS, man. Now you're gonna lay everything on her like one of the contestants on The Bachelor just trying to be vulnerable so she'll keep you around? At least buy her some chips like you did with Rose before dumping all your genocide all over some human who just now understands it's bigger on the inside. I'm a fan of the mystery surrounding the Doctor and his inner turmoil, where the companions and the viewer are never really sure if they're seeing the real Doctor because of how well they hide themselves. I like the out-of-nowhere reminders of this ancient being and all they have done, good and bad, and feeling the weight of their years. Here it just seems a bit flippant. I know, I get the crazy nerdgasm too whenever he mentions something to do with the lore. But if there isn't a point to him being so open about himself without an explanation other than garden parties at the Nobles, I'm sorry, but no, don't like.
My world is called Gallifrey.
Gallifrey? And where's that?
Gone! Ruby, it's gone. It's gone.
Stop flying the TARDIS into things. It doesn't fly. It materializes in space and time and whenever it wants. This is really just a bad visualization of something that our brains can't understand. Why would a f***ing time machine need to f***ing fly anywhere? Flying indicates time is a factor.
We went to the stars.
We went to the stars long before you were born, Ruby. It does stand to reason that we would have cool in the year 21506. Also, are they playing homage with the retread on making the phone timey-wimey?
A little bit of jiggery pokery.
Is that a technical term, jiggery pokery?
Yeah, I came first in jiggery pokery. What about you?
The peppiness of this scene provides no weight. With Rose, she's freaked the out. She's been fighting with the Doctor. He's insulting her. He's being a grungy little. She's overwhelmed and she's realizing where she is and what that means to her family, to her friends, to everything she knows. And it freaks her the out. And the Doctor comes in and magically makes it all better. It's a really nice moment that plays on a lot of different levels, while this scene takes out all of the emotion and just updates the mechanics.
But you, Ro, we've been waiting for an awfully long time.
Oh my God, their mouths. Jesus f***ing Renesmee hell. Baby Geniuses came out March 12th, 1999. How the f*** has technology not advanced? Who the f*** rigged this up? Some of these wires are on pulley systems from the ceiling. I already know what you're thinking, you little optimistic viewer. You're thinking there is a rational explanation to this. You're thinking, why Salty? Obviously the nanny did this. I agree. She has to have done it because the babies can't reach the ceiling even if they're standing on their motorized whistling activated buggies. So the nanny rigged all this up to have the babies clean the pipes and regulate the oxygen and push the buttons while she sits in a room and monitors them. All the while, the oxygen goes out, the defunded space station floats in space, eventually to enter into some planet's atmosphere and turn into a burning ball of death or get smashed by a passing asteroid. All while some space monster that she doesn't fully understand seemingly hunts down the children.
And I've been all on my own, watching the kids for 6 years.
I don't understand. They are gorgeous. Why would you hide?
Because I don't want to see them die. And I don't want them to see me die.
She stays in this room because the kids might be sad if they see her die. Never mind their emotional and physical needs for the first 6 years that they've been developing up here. They might be a little bit sad to see their nanny die, like normal kids would see with their parents. You don't want to see them die? Did you really say that? 6 years you've been watching these children basically fend for themselves while you've piped in advice as the nanny? Bitch, how many of these babies died? There is no way all birth babies made it the full 6 years without some physical parent. Wait, you're not hiding from them because you love them. You're hiding from them because they're super mutant babies that have learned how to talk and know how to physically threaten. You don't love them, you're scared of them. God, imagine the smell of this room.
They died. It was a genocide and they died.
Which one are you referring to? The Time War you ended, or the other dumb thing? The one you didn't overtly cause, but you didn't bother to try to reverse in any way. I mean, you did push the button and cause the genocide of Gallifrey, then prevented it, then hid it in a pocket dimension to stop having to remember all the names of the children that you murdered in order to stop the destruction of the universe. I'm just trying to understand where your head is at when it comes to the second genocide. Is it okay this time because you didn't technically do it, even though you could have easily stopped this old man and probably outsmarted the world's dumbest master? I guess you won't have any sleepless nights this time, recounting the names of the kids that died. Why did the doctor have a premonition that stepping on the butterfly was going to be bad? Did he remember in the last second that he had forgotten the butterfly compensation switch? Does he have to remember this switch every time the TARDIS redecorates? Also, hey, are you telling me that the TARDIS, in addition to being within its own pocket universe and not obeying the laws of physics, is sentient and in love with the Doctor, has an invisible Sutek riding around on it for basically 1,000,000 years, and now you expect me to believe that it has controls that allow you to affect linear time? Assuming that it's not a fixed point in time? There's a switch on the TARDIS for this? Why not, Doctor Who? Why not? I don't really understand the babies at all. I know they're manufactured, they're grown in a lab, and they're born from these tubes, but like, why did these 9 not develop physically again? TARDISpedia tells me that they mention that they left the birthing machine on when the crew left, allowing for the baby's intelligence to develop, but not their bodies. But exactly what machines are they talking about? There are no machines hooked up to these kids. I don't see anything happening to them to keep them as infants. I mean, the thing is called a birthing machine, but these babies are not being born unless it now takes 6 years to grow a baby. Does it make any sense at all to have the first thing you do when you see another person appear on your ship that was abandoned by humans 6 years ago and is currently being haunted by a baby snot monster is to ask the children to blow their noses? Not run out of your room like a crazy person on your knees begging to be saved. Ma'am, you used more oxygen and power to have the babies blow their noses because you have guests rather than begging them, how do I get off this space station? I did like that the Doctor saved the monster. That is in line with everything we know about the Doctor to this point. The snot monster is not evil, it's just scaring the babies because that's what it was created for. Good on ya, glad you made it in time. But what happens when old Snotty makes it to What happens when old Snotty makes it to Dewberry Duplessis world? I know they accept refugees and all, and they will be accepting of these mutant babies, and probably experiment on them. But I'm guessing that they're gonna take a quick blowtorch to this bogeyman in about an hour of landing there. Speaking of things I don't understand,
Ruby's regular mom.
of our three main continuing story arcs, the major player here is Ruby and her mom. And I still don't understand the scanning scene here, knowing what we know now. Are you telling me that the TARDIS doesn't have the data from the mandatory DNA registration in 2046? Sure, maybe the TARDIS was hiding the information from Sutek and couldn't tell the Doctor. But the Sonic? I've seen this thing scan people and tell the Doctor what color their poop is. It couldn't get the data either? Look, maybe there's an explanation, but boy, this seems like some really easy to obtain information for a time traveler to not be able to get it if he was interested. I'll probably have more to say about this as we go along, but the snow. The snow is an enormous red flag about Ruby's birth. And as soon as it starts snowing in the space station, the memory of the mysterious hooded figure changes and points at the Doctor. The Doctor even says this.
I wonder who she is. Your mother. The memory changed. She was pointing at me.
It's not because he's wrong, by the way. She did not point up to the street sign and declare to nobody that her baby should be named Ruby like the sign on the street. Not one damn thing pointed to this being a normal person. Nothing in this episode and nothing in any of the other ones. Tune in next week for more ranting about the fucking dumb snow.
The Sutek surprise.
We got another triad Mary-do. I don't have the brain capacity to learn all their names, so don't call on me when that trivia question comes up. And presumably, Sutek birthed another one while he was here.
I love Ruby, and she said there's no such thing as the bogeyman. So I'm going to find the naughty doggo and tell him off.
Yeah? Well, guess what? A bigger naughty doggo shat out another Mary-do, and pretty soon, you're all gonna be dust in the wind. The f*** is Flood? Recently, Anita Dobson let it slip that the mystery surrounding Mrs. Flood would be associated with this episode. I think that leaves us with two likely scenarios. One, many have speculated Mrs. Flood will be in the pantheon as the god of stories. Since the Doctor has one of the greatest and longest stories of all time, this is why she's been interested in him. And that theory fits in with this episode due to the need for the babies to have the bogeyman or the boogeyman or the boogerman or whatever it is you said growing up, chupacabra. And all of this makes perfect sense and further clues us into who Mrs. Flood actually is, or, number two, she simply gets on with whatever business she had going on as soon as Ruby steps in the TARDIS door. The only connection this episode has to her is by proximity. The first makes the most sense, the second is probably what we'll get. Because of the actual definition of an extra, we didn't have any in this episode. I tried to count the babies to see if any of them didn't talk, but they all have names, so they are disqualified. And the bogeyman doesn't have any lines, but he is credited and is a major part of the episode. So, unfortunately, I'll be keeping my award this week. No Extra Being Extra Award of the Week. As you can probably tell, I didn't like Space Babies. If watching an episode of Doctor Who is like rooting for your home team to win the big game, this episode was a big ol' L. The kind that makes you question whether the coach is the right fit for the team and complain about the playbook. The Church on Ruby Road was not a masterpiece, but it could mask a lot of its issues with all the things it needed to get done by introducing a new Doctor and the new companion, and the general likability of the two main stars distracted us from the head-scratcher of a plot. But Space Babies doesn't make any sense, it's dumb, It isn't even really pandering to kids unless its new target demographic is toddlers and sentimental moms. It's unsettling visually. Thankfully, we already know the season has some very big wins, so we can shake this one off for now. I give Space Babies a 2 out of 10. Not quite the worst thing I've ever seen because Shooty and Millie were still really likable, and they showed me a bit of the Doctor's personality that I look forward to seeing more of. And what about the Devil's Cord? Did it wash the bad taste out of my mouth? You already know the answer already. Subscribe, find out. You subscribers are awesome. Way to get on the ground floor. Subscriber 8, I appreciate you jumping on this week. You see that? Subscribe, and I could personally tell you that you're awesome. Until then, stay salty, my friends.
I love you, Ruby.
Damn, this kid has a hard-on for Ruby. Somebody check his diaper. I think he just hit puberty.